What's up, fam? We are back on the CEO Pulse podcast where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship on another special episode of Mindset Mondays with my co-host, Justin Thorstad.
You're doing better. Yeah. It's going good.
Oh, yeah. Loving it. Really cool topic. All credit goes to my buddy here. He came up with the topic for today, which is 3 principles to deal with stress. Okay, how to... they're more like realizations on how to look at things. That way your stress gets mitigated, meaning that it doesn't hit you as hard. Stress is never going to go away. It's always going to be there. It's a constant, especially if you're constantly improving. You're always going to have a degree of stress, hitting you from all sides, right? Totally. It's about how we come about and really deal with it. I think that matters. That makes a big difference.
Well, and it's changing that internal representation to what stress is to you and why you get stressed with it, right? And coming up with a new story on how to deal with and handle that stress instead of running away from it or having destructive behaviors and toxic behavioral tendencies and coping mechanisms, right? So if you can change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yeah. Wayne Dyer, 100%.
So exactly. So that's where the principles came about.
Right. Man, I can remember from personal experience, just like some of my most stressful, times have put me in really dark mental spaces.
Absolutely.
Where I felt like there was no exit. I mean, there was no exit, no solutions. I was, pretty much dead on the water and unable to breathe. And it just like, it can encapsulate you in this little tiny black, dark box, right? If you let it. I think it's important to note too, there's good stress. And then there's bad stress, different types of stressors, right? Stuff that, comes in and then helps you move forward and push forward and whatnot. Everything that's outside of the normal temperature, per se, in your lifestyle is going to be a sign of stress. So you have good stress, for example, a joyful, happy afternoon with family can be a good stressor, right? The connotation of the word stress, it's automatically just assumed as a bad thing, altogether. But it's important to understand that anything that impacts the way that your emotions feel is going to be a stressor. Now, is it good or is it bad? It's a different thing, right? When it's bad stress, you need to know how to deal with that stuff.
Totally. Yeah. And that's hence where these 3 principles came from. And because the thing about it is if you're an entrepreneur, there's always going to be something to be stressed about.
Right.
Whether that's attempting to build momentum, whether that's you got momentum and now you realize you've got gaps in your systems, your processes, and you need to grow and scale, but you're hitting a glass ceiling, so to speak, logistically or financially or whatever. There's just always issues that are going to go on. If you're going to pivot your business, go a different direction, right? So growing pains, all these things can be stressors where I don't know what the answer is. I may not even know what to do about it, and so I'm feeling some kind of way on the inside. Right. And so what's my relationship to that stress?
There's an energy charge to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And left unchecked and not knowing what to do, or analysis paralysis, or anything that's not forward moving with those stressors.
Right.
As you said, we've all experienced this. You go kind of into that, you start spiraling down. Yeah. And you go into that deep, dark space and it leads to some depression or maybe massive anxiety or whatever the case is. So these 3 principles, at least for me, have helped significantly. Anytime the first onset of that stress kicks in, I go back to these.
I love it, man. Before we jump right into them, give me an example of a time where you've let stress just kind of, take you for a ride.
Oh, well, actually, probably about a month ago, actually.
Yeah.
So
isn't that crazy? We spend all this fucking time, on personal growth and trying to levitate and walk on water and all that stuff, but we still get hit with with all kinds of things. It's a normal, it never goes away. It's a normal
Welcome
thing.
to life. Yeah. So it was basically just for about 90 days in my business, results, profitability was going down. And I started going victim to that. And we did a victim responsible episode, right? So for those of you who haven't seen it, go check it out on the podcast list. But anyways, going victim to it meant that I was assigning fault and blame externally.
Right.
And then having some resistance to certain people and situations, which led to resentment.
Right.
And the next step of the 3 R's is revenge. And although people don't usually take revenge out on others, you'll take it out somehow, and it's usually on yourself, right?
Right.
And so anyways, when I got to the second R of resentment, I started to take a look at, wait a minute, how am I responsible for creating this? What's my 1% of responsibility in this? Because if I can take a look at 1% responsibility and be willing to open that door, I'm going to find many other things. And so I got a chance to remind myself of a very simple principle that is so abundantly true and self-evident. It's not them, it's me. How am I being in such a way that co-created that? And therefore, how can I shift energetically to be different with the situation and bring a different action forth, a different conversation, like change up me and how I'm approaching the situation to produce desired results.
Right. Yeah, I mean, taking responsibility is going to take such a load off your back when it comes to impotence. When it comes to you feeling like you have no control over where your results are going, where your results are being generated, where your life is going altogether, right? The second that you start taking control, and I think we've beaten this down like a dead horse on previous conversations, but
it's still necessary.
Yeah, it's still necessary because I forget. But the second that you start taking responsibility about your actions, about your non-actions, about your results, about the stuff that's not coming into fulfillment and whatnot, you take absolute responsibility of that. That backpack of kind of like, I don't know. I like to think that you swap out the backpack, right? You don't really get rid of a backpack, but you swap it out. You have this one of like the victim backpack. I can't do it because I don't have, whatever, X, and Y is not panning out or whatever. You take that off and you just kind of throw like a rocket backpack on, and now you can steer it and you can go places. But you have to take that, that personal power back, and the first step to that is responsibility.
Well, and so I like what you said about the backpack. I call it your shit sandwich. Like, you're always going to eat a shit sandwich, and you got to pick one, right?
I like backpack.
Well, I think it's such a great analogy about the shit sandwich, because there's the shit sandwich of going victim.
Yeah.
And now you're powerless, you're out of control, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, that sucks, right? The other shit sandwich is, okay, if I'm to take ownership and responsibility, that means I have to be different with the situation. I got to look at it different. I got to think about it different. I got to feel about it different. Now I got to get into a different action and behavior with it. And that's going to suck, and that's going to be difficult, and that's going to be scary, and it's going to be unpredictable. So either way you go, you're going to experience some pain. But here's the thing with entrepreneurship. Like, the pain and the struggle is indicative of the path. Like, it's inherent within entrepreneurship, right? However, suffering is optional.
Yeah.
And so you get to pick which shit sandwich you want to eat. One leads us to a predictable toxic behavior of going victim. The other one leads to new conversations, new opportunities, a brighter future. Like, it's just a better way.
I'm reading a book called Consistency. And this morning, actually, that's exactly the thing that kind of popped at me, right? It's circumstances do not define you. They reveal you.
Yes.
Like, isn't that crazy?
To you.
Yeah, exactly. They reveal you to you, like how you handle that kind of stuff. It's a reveal of the real self, right?
Yeah. Like, I want to know where my insufficiencies are,
exactly,
so I can adjust those and elevate me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Why hide that kind of stuff when you can come in and actually take power over it, precedence over it, and and move them around as opposed to them moving you around. Yeah, you know what I mean? So
yeah, but I love it too, because you can also take a look at this like a sailboat. Like, you just gotta check in and have ultimate ownership. Am I the captain of this vessel, or am I subject to Mother Nature? Because the thing about captaining your own vessel is, if it's a sailboat, like, if Mother Nature comes into play and changes the circumstances, the condition, the environment, all you got to do, if you're the captain, is adjust your sails to what is. And so you can have forward-moving momentum.
Right.
Yeah? So, or some people say, oh, the wind changed, so now I'm stopped in my tracks. No, bitch. You got to adjust your sails. Keep going. You know what I mean? Yeah. Move with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Turn on the auxiliary engine. I just came up with something really, really cool. As you were rambling on there. Responsibility is like switching the backpack to a jetpack. Oh.
Are you so proud of yourself
right now? Yes, absolutely.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, shit sandwich. It's got a stickiness to it. All right.
I'm sorry, everybody.
All right. Principle number 1. You want to walk us through it? And this is,
absolutely,
it's never going to get done.
Yeah, it's never all going to get done. And so what I noticed many years ago is, like, there's always a big fucking to-do list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so my thought process, my relationship with the to-do list was, when it all gets done, then I can relax.
Yeah.
And when I can relax because it all got done, then I'll be at peace. But what I noticed is, it never all gets done.
It never does.
Ever. ever. And so a small subtle shift I made was to just realize, okay, out of these 15 things, what must, like shall get done today? Like no shit, no kidding. I'm not done until those items are done.
Yeah.
And if you really break it down and prioritize it, there's only a handful max that must get done today. Right?
Things that really matter.
Yeah, exactly. A fire to be put out, things that really matter, that are the important KPIs, right? Those kinds of things. If I get those done today and there's still time left over, guess what? I'll knock some other things off the list.
Yeah.
But if I get those things done today and it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock p.m. and it's time for me to check out to go spend time with my family or my me time or whatever the point is, like, then I won my day.
Yeah.
And if you can win your days consistently, you'll win your life.
Yeah, I like that, man. It's
Like, there's always more to do.
there's always stuff to do. It's
Especially
never
if you're a serial entrepreneur. Like if you've got multiple businesses, like there's always shit to get done.
Yeah, it's kind of like a joke, but really not, right? Like when people ask me, "Are you working on X day or whatever?" I was like, I started working in 2001, and I haven't stopped. But it's a real thing. Like it never gets done. I just got back I went out of town, went back. I'm originally from Yuma, so we went back to Yuma for the weekend and saw some family and whatnot. And then came back yesterday. As soon as I got back yesterday, I walk into my home office, my study, and I start typing away on some emails, and then this is like as soon as I got out of the car and I got back into an opportunity of to work. I went at it, right? Like by default, I just like flies to poop. And
attracted to the shit sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. and I don't know. I did it for like good 5 minutes or something, and I was typing away and doing stuff, and then trying to just like finding out shit to do, right? And then it hit me. Like, what am I doing? I just got back. Like, just finish off the day. Like, this stuff's still gonna be here tomorrow. It's nothing there's no actual fire, taking place. Stop looking for that kind of stuff, right?
Totally.
Somehow, it's easy to just kind of fall into that space where you start looking for things. And I'll speak for myself on this, right? I'll start looking for fires to put out because I'm so used to just running around all the time. When you have some type of a gap, you feel like you're missing stuff, right? That's also a stressor, and that's a bad kind of stress, because you're almost expecting shit to happen so you can come in and fix it. And I caught myself doing that. It's like, all right, pump the brakes, step back, turn the computer off, and then I had to pull myself out of that room.
Well, good for you for having the awareness and then shifting and doing something about it, man.
But I went back to it by default. I had the awareness after I sat there for a little bit. Like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? But the default is still there. Like the wiring it's kind of hard to
unravel that.
Yeah.
Well, you got neurological pathways
Absolutely.
in your mind that are hardwired, right? And so to prune those away requires, first of all, the awareness, oh, I'm doing it again, and then change behavior and change the energy, the emotion around it to start pruning those synaptic connections.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because neurons that fire together wire together.
Yeah.
So you stop firing those, eventually they're going to prune away because what you don't use, you lose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's important to understand it and you just come to terms, right? Hug it, embrace it, take it for a walk. That beast that tells you that you need to be going 24/7. It's a fallacy.
It's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a lie.
Love it. Principle number 2.
Yeah. Momentum always stops. Like, and that's a problem for a lot of entrepreneurs to accept, to surrender to that, meaning accept, not surrender as in give up or defeated, surrender as in full acceptance, right? To just realize that there's going to be times when you're in a season and in that flow state we've talked about, right? It's such a beautiful space to be in, and we never want it to end because it just seems like business, life, results are just unfolding organically, naturally, effortlessly, and the highest and best in results are being had. And you're like, oh my God, this is so wonderful and beautiful. I'm not doing anything other than playing, enjoying myself, and loving my life, and the highest and best in results are being had. And I don't know about you, but those flow states for me usually only last about 2, maybe 3 weeks. I mean, the beautiful, true flow state. And then when it stops, it's like, oh, where'd it go? How come it's not back? Da-da-da-da. And so to just realize that, I don't care if it's a car, a train, doesn't matter. Like everything that's got inertia, momentum, eventually will stop.
Yeah.
Because there's external forces, there's us, there's X factors involved that are going to stop momentum. And so why do you have a problem with that? And when you find that your momentum stopped, Like, take a deep breath. What are all the beautiful lessons? Because I don't care if it's good or bad. There's always something to learn from both, right? And why you would label those two good or bad, I'm not sure. But we did an episode on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the non-judgment piece.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyways.
I'm not psychoanalyzing you right now.
Good.
Yeah. Not at all.
No, don't process any of that.
No.
Okay, so where was I? Lost my train of thought. The momentum's gone. See? No. But to just realize.
I see what you did there. I like that. Yeah.
You like that? Nice tie-in. Analyze that.
Boom.
Okay, so to realize that, okay, if your momentum stop, assess, take out, extract the beautiful gifts of awarenesses, the education, the learning, any and all mistakes, things of that nature, what stopped my momentum. And then here's how you rebuild momentum. Very simple. Set short-term targets, hit and exceed them. I don't care how short they are. I don't care if it's a target for today, the end of the week. Set short-term targets and hit those. You start building momentum.
Right.
And it's necessary. But to just realize that that's going to stop at some point, and can you be okay with that?
It's absolutely right. The small wins really make everything matter. And it's those small actions that lead up to big things. Those small actions, it's we may not see them as flow because again they are small actions, but it's that consistency that keeps that dynamic going, right? I think of flow and momentum as a as a river. You have spots in the river that are just going hella fast. The current is super strong. You're in it, and then you're moving quick. I mean, nothing can stop you, right? You're breaking through rocks and shit, like it's crazy. And then you have spots where it's just mellow, chill, relaxed, and the current is very slow. It's very pond-like almost. And then you have waterfalls, and same thing with momentum. I think because we get into these places, and I think. When one thing that I just kind of every time I break my state of flow, and same thing for me. I feel like I'll get into flow and I'll get something real dial in. It'll last a few weeks, and then something happens. Right? I don't know if it's just a mindset exhaustion, or you start taking it for granted, and then your attention kind of leaves that. But usually when I break flow, it's because my attention is going somewhere else. Like that's really what happened, right?
Yes, because energy flows where attention goes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So my attention goes somewhere else. The flow and whatever it is that I'm doing just kind of starts to dissipate, a little here and there. And then one thing that I do is come back and then I mean, like you said earlier, right? Take a look at what happened when I was in state of flow. What was I doing? It's kind of like that learned or active learning process, which is, it's really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so the thing about momentum and setting those short-term targets and hitting or exceeding them is you're building some self-esteem.
Yeah.
You're respecting yourself, right? Because you're making progress. You're hitting goals. And I don't care how small they are. And so if you can do that consistently over a small period of time, I look at it like this. How do you win a war?
Yeah.
And what is a war? A war is a series of many different battles, right? And to win the war, you don't have to win all the battles. You just have to win more of them than you lose, right? So all those short-term targets are little battles. It's a battle with yourself. Because all you're doing is you're coming up against you. You can go victim to, no, I have an obstacle with the market, or it's my business partner, or it's my employees, or it's whatever that's external, outside of you.
Right.
And you could take a look at, no, it really is, how am I being with it? What's my relationship to it? And if I can overcome me and I can hit these short-term targets, you're winning more of those battles to win the war.
A phrase that I keep repeating myself is focused attention. Not just focus, not just attention, but actually focused attention. I wrote it down, like this is from this morning. It's crazy that we're hitting this topic. But if you see it right there, it's on my journal. Focused attention. And it's because I really feel like I've been in a state of flow for the last several weeks. And I don't know, maybe since about 4 or 5 days, to now, I felt like it started dwindling and I started getting a little scattered. Why? My attention went into different areas.
Yeah.
As opposed to being on that train of thought that I was on, where I felt like I was making leaps and bounds in terms of progress, and then I got a little scattered, right? And I'm not saying you have to focus on just one thing and then go to town on just one thing, but be aware, right, that this happens. Now, I think the cool thing, or one of the most important things to really keep in mind is how do I get back on track, right? For me, it's putting stuff on paper and then taking a picture of, okay, what's going on? This is the focus. This is the extent of, like, between the three businesses, this is the extent of my attention right now.
Yeah, I love that. So for me, focused attention requires two things. intention and attention.
Yeah.
Right? Like energetically, emotionally, listen, everything's created twice. I don't care if it's this company, Starbucks, this cup, this straw. First, it existed in someone's imagination. If you can hold it there long enough, you'll hold it in your hand, right? So what's the intention of the highest and best end result energetically? Like, can you paint that picture, that beautiful masterpiece with your imagination? You got to have a clear intention. And then the emotional connection to it. Like, why do you want it? Have you envisioned that future success if it's happening now? Do you know what it's even going to feel like? Intention. Yeah. And then a plan of action, right? Like, let me map this out to the best of my ability with my current level of ignorance so I can pay attention to my schedule, so I can do these things. So it requires intention and attention to be deep focused.
100%.
I do believe. So.
Yeah. And then principle number 3, there is always a big fucking problem.
Totally. Like, and that really should give you a sense of like, oh, okay, then this is acceptable. This is normal, right?
Yeah.
Like and whether, again, that's a problem on the inside or the outside, conditions, circumstances, or environment. Like, there's always a problem to deal with.
Yeah.
And so, again, it's...
And here's the thing. If there's not a problem to deal with, you're not doing enough.
Yeah, or you're not breathing.
Yeah,
you know, like, because
exactly.
Again, it could be an internal problem.
Absolutely, and the scary thing is that we'll create those internal problems and make monsters out of those things.
Totally.
Just because of a lack of attention and focus and emphasis on purpose and whatnot. But that's a tangent, but it's a very real thing.
But to just realize, like, most people want to be problemless, taskless. So then, I can finally decompress. And that's why, unfortunately, for a lot of entrepreneurs, like, they need at least like a week and a half vacation because it takes several days to unwind. It's like, that's because you're wound tight.
Yeah.
And so the key is, how can you be at peace going through your to-do list, right? Not waiting for it to all get done so then I can be at peace. No, how can I be at peace while I'm in action? How can I be while I'm doing this, right? Like, and so the thing with the big fucking problem, since there's always going to be a problem, again, how can I be at peace so I can remain objective about the situation, so I can be resourceful, so I can be solution-oriented, so I can hit this thing from many different directions? Because when you're lost in a problem and you're kind of sucked into it, you've lost yourself, you're subjective, like, there's no solutions, really. It's like throwing the towel, I need to quit, da-da-da-da. And so if you can just realize there's always a problem, then you can welcome those problems as opportunities to practice being different with your reality, to practice showing up bigger, better version of you, to practice being resourceful. Like, it's actually a gift.
Yeah.
It really is. Again, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So instead of looking at it as a big fucking problem all the time, how about, another opportunity for me to grow and elevate, another opportunity for me to practice and integrate what I learned on that podcast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, without those opportunities to practice, you're a philosopher. You understand it, but you haven't integrated it.
Oh my God, there's so many smart people or smart philosophers out there.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not taking anything away from the principle of thought, right, and critical thinking. Absolutely, it's I mean, that's the pillar of progress. But you have to come in and then actually get your hands dirty every now and then, right?
Totally.
Otherwise, everything is theoretical. I mean, we can theorize about solutions. We can theorize about plans and outcomes on issues and everything, right? At the end of the day, nothing's gonna hit us the same as when you actually come in and then take action. One of the things that I'm always talking about is massive imperfect action. This comes really, straight from one of my mentors, Tom Crow, and it's massive imperfect action. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
But if you come across a problem, you more than likely don't have, if you're deeming it a problem, more than likely you don't have a clear solution for it. That's why. Otherwise, it's just an issue that pops up in your standard operating procedures, right? Then it's not a problem. It's just another thing that you operate with. But if it's a problem, more than likely the solution to it is going to be a little, hazy, and it's not going to be there. But
at first, yeah.
Yeah, at first, right? Unless you actually get in there and start taking action to come in and solve, whatever is holding you back at that point, it's things are not going to change.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about problems is, I look at problems as a good thing because, again, they're opportunities.
Absolutely.
But the thing people need to realize, if you get what you can realize about problems is that the law of polarity exists. Duality still applies to problems. What I mean by that is this. If it is a problem, that means inherently a solution exists.
Right.
If there was no solution, it wouldn't be a problem, right? So every problem has a solution. And unfortunately, what a lot of people victim mentality do is they have a problem for every solution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, that won't work because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, really, bitch? Why don't you actually give it a shot?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's important you say that, or it's really cool you say that. But let me bring this up, okay? And one where it's come across like and I've experienced it, right? A problem for every solution. Sometimes people will want to justify that as critical thinking, right? As, okay, well, I'm looking at the different options, different opinions. There's only so much, you can dissect something down to have a logical problem for that solution, all right? So if you're the type of person that's always looking for problems to every solution out there, go, I don't know, 1 level, 2 levels deep, right? But if you spend 10 levels going into any problem, you're gonna find issues why you shouldn't do whatever, right? And then people get stuck in analysis paralysis.
Yeah,
that's what happens.
You can rationalize a solution and then
Exactly.
rationalize another reason why it won't work. Like, why don't you just get into action?
Exactly. Do not for big fucking problems. Do not expect to have solutions right out of the gate. Do not expect to have everything laid out, the whole solution, how it's going to pan out, all your ducks in a row before you actually come in and try to solve it, right? That's what's causing the stress. It's that inaction. When you're in motion, when you're in action, things just, start to pan out. They start to kind of level out, and the playing field becomes leveled.
Absolutely.
And stress levels. Again, and I'll speak from personal experience. Like, when I feel the most stressed is because I'm thinking of something, but I haven't taken the initial steps forward. I know what I got to do. I just haven't taken, step 1, step 2. Why? And I catch myself doing this stuff all the time, dude, especially with new projects and whatnot. Okay, I have an idea. I have a North Star where I need to go with this, but I don't know I don't have the first 15 steps laid out.
Yeah, got it.
Maybe I have a couple of steps and they feel like they're step 10 and 11, and I'm missing the first 9.
Yeah.
It's not until I get my hands dirty and actually start digging in there towards that outcome, right, that I start to get the creative juices flowing to fix that problem that's giving me that level of stress.
Well, motion creates emotion, right?
Yeah.
So, and some people may be going, yeah, but Raph, I don't know what to do. It's like, that's not fucking true.
Absolutely.
Because, again, we've discussed this. My deep-rooted belief system is I'm not smart enough, right? So I don't know how to map it all out. What are the first 15 steps? I don't know. Right. I'm not smart enough to figure it out either. Good. And I'm keeping that program because you know what it does do? It allows me to go, okay, Justin, what is just one damn thing? What seems like the most logical next step? And I don't care how damn small it is, because by taking that one step and accomplishing it, guess what happens? The next one unfolds.
Right.
Like, you'll be led.
Yeah.
And so if you just trust yourself, trust in your higher power, whatever you want to subscribe that to, God, Spirit, Universe, Gus, whatever you want to call it. If you just say, okay, what's one important thing I can do right now toward that? Anything, and take that step, guess what? By taking that step, you're going to have an experience, and you'll be like, ooh, I could do this.
Yeah.
Ooh, I could do that. And you just keep hitting those, it's going to start unfolding.
Absolutely, 100%. But yeah, it's to kind of to recap on these 3. It's important to understand, right, that there's always gonna there's always gonna be stuff happening, and coming at you, and you're always gonna have stress. Good stress is looks like one thing, right? Bad stress, it's just part of nature. It's part of growth. It's part of doing the things that we have to do as entrepreneurs day in and day out. And it's not about making it disappear. It's never gonna be gone. Why? Because you live in a dynamic space. Yeah. We live in a society that has stress. So we have things that hit us outside of our control, right? It's how we manage that kind of stuff.
Think about the laws of nature. I mean, seasons. Each season has its own stressor. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Whether that's winter, obviously a death, which is important for spring, a rebirth. But even the birthing process is stressful. You think about it. A fetus, when the contraction starts, like all that pressure and everything, and the going through the birth canal and so forth, like that is a massive amount of stress. Yet it's necessary to get to the other end of a new beginning.
Right.
And so if you can just reframe your relationship to big fucking problems and stressors, because it's a natural part of the progression. It's happening for a reason. Yeah. And if you're stressed about that, you're not going to be objective. You're not going to be aware. You're not going to be fully present in the situation to get the gold, to learn, to elevate, to evolve yourself. Yeah. Instead, you'll push it away, go into depression, anxiety, whatever the case is, and have some destructive, toxic behaviors.
Yeah. focus on the big fucking rewards. instead of
Absolutely.
The, big fucking
The
problem.
potential realities that are going to come on the other
Exactly.
end of all of this.
Yeah. Recap on those three. Principle number one is never. Things are never going to get done. You're always going to have a new thing to do. Your to-do list is going to get refilled tomorrow if you wipe it all off tonight. So don't feel like you got to wrap everything,
It
up.
never all gets done.
It never all gets done.
Be at peace with it instead of waiting for it all to get done before you can be at peace.
Momentum stops. Principle number two. You're going to be in a state of flow. You may hit it, right? Don't get all bummed out whenever you get off that state of flow. It's part of that current that we live in as entrepreneurs. Sometimes you go real fast, and then your attention goes somewhere else, and then your flow just kind of diminishes a little bit. Doesn't mean it's gone. Doesn't mean that you can't get it back. Just reassess, refocus. Focused attention is going to get you to that spot, and then pick it right up.
Yeah, and you can rebuild momentum by hitting and exceeding short-term targets.
Yeah, there you go.
consistently.
And then there's always going to be a big fucking problem. Understand that. So don't be surprised when big, and probably, a lot of people who, I think this is the third principle here. I think it's a little touchy, right? Well, no, if you visualize problems, then you're going to have problems. Well, I may not be visualizing problems, but I live in an energy field where there's just, stuff, right? If we want to take it from that context,
X factors.
there's always X factors coming in. Again, we can mitigate that and see it as a opportunity to excel as opposed to something that's going to keep us down and under. So
Yeah, if you welcome it as a teacher, as like this is happening for my benefit to grow and evolve, transform myself,
100%.
like you'll just approach that so much differently. It's how you're being with it, not the fact that it's here.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. Solid stuff, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're a very smart person. I don't care what anybody says. Justin, where can somebody find you?
Yeah, man. JustinThorstad.com, THORSTAD. Facebook, Instagram, Justin Thorstad, or my cell number, 602-348-8534.
Savage. Owner of Libertas Real Estate as well. So
JT Seminars and so many more things launching soon.
boom. Dun, 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 dun. I'm telling you, man, my sound effects are. I mean, I was gonna buy.
It's getting better.
Gonna buy a soundboard. I don't
should
think
probably
I
still
need
do
it.
that.
Whatever. All right. And you can find me anywhere, Rafael Cortez, CEO. All right. Make sure that you like the podcast. If you haven't liked it, leave us a review. It really helps putting the word out there, right? The more interaction that we get from you guys, the more conversations that we have, the more impact that we can make, right? But reaching more people. So go to the YouTube channel, Rafael Cortez CEO. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And you can follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, MySpace. I'm Tom's friend. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay focused.
Thanks, everybody.
You got this. Boom.